Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week, we're sharing a live recording from the 6th annual Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, which we hosted in San Diego and online in March. It was 3 full days of presentations, panel discussions, networking, and a lot of farmers market fun. This Tent Talk Live episode is from longtime farmers market vendor and Intense Conference veteran Sarah Marshall of Marshall's Hot Sauce in Portland, Oregon. Sarah's presentation, Can We Talk About Burnout?, will help you gain useful self-care and conflict management tools for market managers, vendors, and employees, and accept that we've been through a lot, and it's okay to be feeling it. Special thanks today to our amazing slate of 2022 Intense Conference speakers and the sponsors including Square, MarketWorks, Farmers Market Coalition, the Food Corridor, American Farmland Trust, and many more who made the 2022 conference possible. Now let's hear from Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I recognize a lot of people because I have been here a lot, which I love. I am going to talk about burnout today, if that's okay with everybody. You don't have to talk about your feelings at all. Kat keeps promising this group cry. That's a lot of pressure for me. This space might not feel safe for you for that. But I'm going to talk about me, my stuff, my journey. I hope that I give you a roadmap for some daily nourishment. That is my only hope today. There was someone here that listened to my self-care talk before about bringing snacks. So clearly you're remembering the things I'm talking about. So hopefully this helps some people. Snacks, yay for snacks. Am I really loud? No? Okay, cool. I feel like I'm yelling at you. So I just wanted to give people a little bit about my journey. So I was a social worker for 10 years before I had my sauce business, which now is going into its 11th year. So I've officially done sauce longer than I did social work, but I still like to talk about feelings and stuff. So I'm going to still do that. I used to teach families how to do things in the kitchen. I did a lot of like food bank work with getting food from the food bank, teaching people how to cook. That's sort of how my sauce journey started. I found a lot of joy in that cooking and that preserving, and so I took a risk. I left social work. You were just talking about the big exit. I did that in 2011, and I thought I would go back, and I didn't. I started my sauce business, and I'm still here. A little bit about my process, because sometimes people need information about their business, and I love to share it. I love to help people on their journey. So if this fits with you, reach out to me about any of this stuff. But I did start in my home. I had a domestic commercial kitchen license. Now I think it's called a cottage license. But I went from making 12 bottles of sauce to a few hundred. The reason why this is important is because it works into my self-care plan later on. I've never really been set up to do a lot of sauce because I make everything myself. But I've had to change that, and that was part of my self-care journey. So I moved to a shared commercial space. I became a licensed food processor then, and then in 2017, I built out a commercial kitchen in my home. That's also going to be important for later because it's a very small space. I am here to say that we have survived, and the reason for that is that pre-pandemic, I was here in 2020, telling people, encouraging people to do this face-to-face interaction at the market. Sorry about that. That's what I was here to tell everyone to do, is go talk to your people, go to their booth, walk around, give them hugs. And then like a couple months later, all of that was not possible anymore. So then I came, last year and tried to help people connect with people online while they couldn't do face-to-face interaction. And I hope that people can still do that, but now that's kind of changing too. So today I'm just here to say that we have survived. Our businesses have survived. Our markets have survived. And I'm really glad that we're all here today. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of all of you in this room for being here. And so I just want to acknowledge that. And then today just say that we should join together in our sacred market space and begin our healing journey, because that is important for all of us. We need it. We need to heal. I'm going to try not to push the wrong button. Wrong button. Okay, so I want to talk about feelings. This is a feelings wheel. I used to use it a lot when I worked with kids in social work, but I think it works for us too. So it helps us to organize and track our feelings, which is important. During this pandemic, we've all experienced more trauma, pain, and loss than is typical of a lifetime. And so what do we do with all those feelings? It really takes complex processing to resolve the feelings that we've had. So I am not that complex processor anymore. I'm not a counselor or a therapist, but I just am here to say that that is what we all need to do to be able to move on from this year. So at the center of this center of this wheel is kind of your core feelings. So there's sad, angry, sacred, peaceful, powerful, and joyful. And I just want you to think about what's in your core. You don't have to share them with me today. I'm not going to have you share your feelings. I only have like 15 minutes, so we can't really get into it. But what I want you to hear is that you are all deserving of this peaceful, powerful, joyful core. Every single one of you is deserving of that. So the big question is, how do we deal so we can heal? After surviving any kind of traumatic event, like a pandemic or anything that you've experienced in your life that is traumatic, it causes many of our feelings to intensify. So we feel a loss of connection, we feel disoriented, we feel guilty, we blame ourselves. I don't know if any of you have felt that this year, but I certainly have. So then the question is, what do we do and how can we mend our core? I'm going to use this kind of roadmap analogy, and the reason for that and what I'm going to tell you of what happened in my business over the pandemic is that if I'm using this roadmap and I was the car, I definitely I had a breakdown. I broke my car because I was set up to sell things directly to people at the market. I have always done some wholesale, but for any of you that are business owners in a food-related product, you know that with wholesale, you make just a very little amount of money when you do that. So I've never wanted to do a lot of it. During the pandemic, all of my money-making events, which for me are farmers markets, but also craft fairs and winery events and cheese events and all of these things. And all of those were canceled. So I couldn't have any in-person sales. So I had to do a lot of wholesale, which meant I had to make a lot of sauce myself because I also didn't really have a staff team at that point in time. So if you know anything about my sauces, I make them all by hand on my own. I've always had a few people that worked for me, but it's always just been me in the kitchen. So I had to take on a wholesale order that was the biggest one that I had ever done, and I had to make 15,000 bottles by myself. And you make such a tiny amount of money when you do it like that. But what I did was I dislocated my fingertips and I gave myself a hernia from trying to move a 500-pound barrel of vinegar into my house because nobody would come into my home to do deliveries like they used to do. They used to take their forklift to move them. I tried to move it with just my buddy and my husband. So I broke my body, and I needed to heal. So I'm going to share some of the things that I did to heal. The physical things that I did, I'll tell you, is that I stopped doing everything myself. I hired some staff. So I have a few employee things to talk about, too. And I'm going to share all of that. The one thing that I can say for how do we deal so we can heal is that we do have to talk. And that's what I had to do. I had to talk to people. I had to create kind of my own team of healers to help re-heal me so that I could keep running my business and being at the farmer's market. So the people that I talk to, I hope you can find these people: holistic psychologist, counselor, therapist, medical doctor, a support group, a community group, just like this one right here. I know not everybody has access to all of these different things, but there are definitely things that you can find. I used all of them during this time to recover my business. So the key, though, I think, is that we all have to gather, we all have to process, we all have to reconnect. So I'm going to just give you some examples of how to do that. Like I said, the hardest place to start is definitely with yourself. I've had to do it for myself. We always are the worst at taking care of ourselves. And when people know that I'm going to talk about self-care, the first thing they always think I'm going to tell you is to get a massage. I'm going to go deeper than that. So I'm going to tell you some other things. I think as small business owners and as market managers, I consider you in that group of small business owners because you're helping all of these people. I think that, we put all of our own needs on the back burner, and so I just want to encourage you to move yourselves to the front burner. In the end, this leads to a stronger sense of self, stronger connections, and a stronger business. So I'm going to go over my self-care plan that I created. Their self-care plans are self-initiated actions to nurture your own health. So this is going to be just about me. The examples are my self-care plan that I developed for me, my family, my employees, to nurture those basic needs to make sure none of those things continue to happen. These are the avenues for self-care that I chose. There's many different avenues, but socializing, creativity, sparking joy within, nurturing, and healthy routine. If we consistently have these avenues running through our veins, we can feel those powerful, joyful, peaceful feelings hiding within our core. So I'm going to tell you the avenues that I used. So you can ask yourself these questions. These are the questions that I asked myself for each one of these avenues. So how can I lift up and amplify the collective market voice? How can I bring my community together? Where do I let my creativity shine? What sparks joy within me? How will I nurture myself and others? And how will I build a healthy routine? So those are the questions that I asked. For Socializing Avenue, this is Marvin. He's my farmer's market bud. He's on the end of the row of the market that I do. You can see he wears a shirt of whatever's in season. So green beans. Now with the pandemic, his masks also match his shirt. So Marvin definitely sparks joy within me and our market shoppers for sure. But during the year, instead of finding new customers, we really tried to connect with our people at the market. I wanted to pump up and give hope to any of them that were there. And for Marvin, I did a recipe writing thing earlier today. I've done recipes for Marvin so he can sell his produce. I really wanted to give him that gift. But we always, even though we can't be so face-to-face with every vendor anymore as we did, we go around, my husband and I, we talk to every vendor. We see what they need. We stay connected to them. For me, doing this, it makes me feel joyful in my core. I mean, how can I not be around Marvin and experience some joy? The next question I ask myself is, how can I bring my community together? And this is a good one for any of you introvert pals out there. You might not be like me where you want to go around and talk to everybody. That's totally cool. There's online ways to do it. So we have a Pacific Northwest food and beverage group. I created the Pacific Northwest Sauce Makers group. And there's about 45 sauce makers in the Pacific Northwest now that are in this group. I kind of did something weird, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but I invited everybody who made sauce over to my house. This was pre-pandemic. And said, make something with someone else's sauce and come over and we'll all hang out. And I, told my husband, this is either going to be really awesome or it's going to be really terrible. So it was awesome. And everybody loved each other because we all had this commonality of making food. What it ended up doing during the pandemic is really connecting us because we were all having all these supply chain issues. So you can see that all these are all Portland sauce makers, but they all use the same bottle. They all use the same lids. They could share resources because we had this group in place. The other thing that we did with the group is that we connected with Black Food Northwest. We did what was called Sauce Aid. We all donated sauce, and people paid money, and then we gave them the sauce, and we gave it to the organization. So the other great thing that has happened is that I can help to connect the sauce makers with the farmers that have food that they need to sell, especially peppers. In Oregon, our pepper season is much different than California. It's 2 months maybe of the really spicier peppers. So for that one, we connected to Outreach Hunger. They work with refugee farms, and they tell me what refugee farmers have peppers to sell, and then I post them to the group, and then they buy them. So that kind of social connection just really created this nice collaborative, safe space for all of us. The creativity avenue of self-care, the question to ask yourself is, where do you let your creativity shine? Mine usually comes in the form of recipe writing. So I developed a lot of products. This is my seasoning packet. It's a chicken marinade. I was trying to help people cook at home. But if the kitchen isn't your creative outlet and you want it to be somewhat market related, I would say designing a new booth can bring you some joy and self-care. Maybe sewing a special market outfit. That one's for you, Justine. She made her tomato shirt, by the way. And then I always try to do things that don't involve my business. Since my business is in my home, self-care piece for me, especially after I hurt myself, was really that I had to stop working because my business is downstairs. I was working all the time. I didn't really stop. And I had to really limit myself and say, no, I will not go downstairs after 5 o'clock. But I also had to do things that weren't business related. So Sundays, my family and I made it an art day, and I'm a terrible artist. I mostly draw dancing carrots. My daughter will tell you that that's about it. But we do it. We sit, we connect, we paint. All of that fosters this sense of peace in my core and my family's as well. For Joy Sparking Avenue, this is where maybe that massage fits in that people always want me to talk about. So you find what sparks joy within you. For some people, it's gardening. For some people, it's pampering, things like that. For some people, it's a quiet spot to chill. I started roller skating. This is my daughter and I. We go every Wednesday. It was a good way for me to get back out into the community, to do something physical, and I found a lot of joy within it. And when I connect to my body, I feel powerful and joyful in my core. So I hope that you can add one of those things in. Justine, am I okay on time? Cool, dude. I have a video, and if... let's see. So maybe it'll just play if I push this? Oh, but I don't think there's sound. Well, you don't have to hear it. I'll just tell you. I mean, it's me. So I have...
the author of Preservation Pantry, Sarah Marshall, is back with us today. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, nice to see ya.
Oh, a day like today, and we're all ready to get out to the markets, right?
Yeah, it's nice. Everything's unfrozen now, so there's lots of good stuff to shop for, and it's a great way to support local businesses.
But you have all the tips, because for those who haven't been out there, or at least for even a couple of years, you have the essentials, right? The little tips and tricks that we need.
I do, yeah. So, I have a booth at the farmer's market, so I'm there all the time. But over the years, I've just developed lots of things that make my farmer's market shopping very easy. So I'm going to give you some of those tips today. So one of them is that just using a wine carrier, and this is just, a cardboard one from a local store, is a really nice way to keep everything from getting smashed. So you can put your flowers in there and your herbs, and if you have some glass bottles, it's just a nice way to keep things looking good.
No, that is brilliant, and it has the little carrier on it. They're very sturdy, so that will last you all day, all morning going around.
And you can keep using it, so you don't, I'm sure people have these lying around, but it also is really nice to put plants in. And then the other tip that I have is that in the mornings, because I'm at the farmer's market all day, and so some of my greens will get a little wilty. So I just throw in little plastic baggies, some, paper towels that are wet. And then I put my produce that might get wilty in there so that it can stay nice and fresh throughout the day. And then when I come home, I'll just stick it in the fridge like that.
Oh, that's so smart. I love that idea.
Yeah, for broccoli, for herbs, for flowers, just stick it around the bottom and it'll keep things really nice. And there's lots of great stuff in season at the market right now. So all the spring flowers are coming in, all the tulips and hyacinths, so you can get really nice, beautiful local flowers. All the herbs and broccoli and leeks, that's the kind of stuff that you're...
I'm going to skip it because it keeps going on. So that segment is important, really, because I don't know if you noticed what Kara said, but she said, in case you haven't been to the farmer's market in 2 years, because people hadn't been to the farmer's market in 2 years. The farmer's market, our market that I regularly do, had decreased in people coming to it by about 50%. So I had a cooking segment on the show, and a lot of the time I'm cooking with things that are in season at the market. I go on once a month. I used to do it in person, and then I moved to doing it through Zoom. So that was my Zoom news segment. But I donate my news segment. That's usually to, drive people to the market, to buy my sauce, really, is why I was originally on there, because I would tell people to cook the different things that I did. But I really, during this time, just wanted people to come just to the market, to come shop to the market. So I was talking about tips and tricks. It was like things to do, but I really just wanted to have people have the farmer's market on their mind and drive them there. So hopefully that works. Shiny, I want to talk about your market. That's my next news segment I'm going to do. But just bringing people to those markets, I didn't realize how powerful those news segments were to bring people there. So the nurturing avenue, how are you going to nurture yourself and others? So this really, you have to focus on both yourself and other people. So my food scientist friend and I have a podcast, Masonia Marshall. That was something that we did not only for the self-care of me, but also for other people at the market. Our guests are usually farmers market. It's women food entrepreneurs of all kinds. I want everyone to know them, to connect with them, to love them. And so we bring them on the show. And when I connect with these powerful women, I am nurturing both of our cores. So the people on the show and also myself, because I love meeting and telling these people's stories. This is my husband and I at the market. Ways to self-nurture at the market. I just wanted to give you, the next few slides are specific to being at the farmer's market and taking care of yourself. So these are ideas of things that you can do while you're at the market. Taking a quick walk, 15-minute mind breaks. Our market staff sometimes lead meditation or yoga, or just taking that 15 minutes for silence if that's what you need. Asking a friend to come visit at the market. I do that a lot. It can be pretty lonely at the market. Remembering to laugh is another good one. My husband's a real funny guy, so we luckily get through the market with a lot of laughing. Our farmers market, the staff requires 30-minute breaks for market employees to go outside of the market. Our downtown market was kind of an intense place over the last couple of years, and so they make the employees kind of leave the market and get a little sense of peace, maybe. When we provide ourselves with this nourishment, we can feel peaceful at our core, and I think that that's what I really hope that people can find. This is my other avenue of nurturing.
I am Sarah Marshall. I am leading a canning class. It's purple basil brined cherry tomatoes. Take your jar out, put your produce in, fill it with brine, tap the air out. It's my one superhuman power. I'll be right here with you to walk you through it.
That was awesome.
Perfect. My favorite part of canning is when the jars seal. It makes this little clicky sound, and it makes you know that everything is done right and you did everything safely, and you can just say, hooray.
So I get a lot of joy from teaching canning. I love it. I wasn't really able to do it over the pandemic, but I have now started to do it again. But I think that teaching and passing on things to the next generation is a really important part of self-care, because I think that it helps you connect to your time and place that you're in. So I'd like to encourage people to do that for sure, if you can find an avenue that you can teach others and pass on your skill. Whoop. Okay, so how will you build a healthy routine? That's the next avenue. And I think that this is a really important avenue for everybody to have. If you can take care of you, you can take care of your business, of your markets. I've talked about this routine here before, and I know it was really beneficial, which is why I brought it again. Because if you want a copy of any of these, I can send them to you. But I really think it's important to address your fundamental needs while you're at the market. So this is just a healthy routine specific to market. I don't want to give everybody things that they have to go home and do in their lives, but I will say that this has helped us at the market. So we do these self-care plans that's incorporated into our sales tracking. So we keep track, of what we sell. And so now if it's me or my husband or employees at an event, they keep track of what they're selling. But we also work in these things that address our basic needs. So food, water, bathroom breaks, community connection. If you're at a farmer's market booth by yourself, it's really hard to remember to go to the bathroom, to eat some food, to drink some water. So we build those things into there. And then we build in the community connection piece too, because I think it became very easy for us to not talk and interact with each other. And so we'll just put that like, oh, today I want to go see if Marvin wants another recipe, or like whatever it is. I'll just make a goal to connect with someone at that market. And our staff do it too. An employee care routine. So we know that having a routine lowers emotional stress, and part of a healthy routine is being prepared. So we do these checklists before we go to the market to just make sure that the staff have everything that they need. One of the things that I added into our routine is that I bought myself heated boots this year that I plug in. So our market got really cold, and I know that when I get cold feet at the market, I get really grumpy. So part of my self-care was to figure out a solution to that. So if anybody has a cold market, they make these boots, and you plug them in, and then your feet are warm. So that is now on my farmer's market checklist, is to charge my boots before the market. And I just want to finish by saying that healing our core is a daily practice. You have to keep doing it. I have to keep doing it. I constantly am checking in with how I'm feeling. My husband and I have nightly check-ins. My family and I, my daughter, we have lunch check-ins to talk about like what was good about our day, what was bad about our day, what we want for the next day. All of these things you have to keep doing. And I hope that if you can incorporate some of these things into your life, into your roadmap, that it brings you power, joy, and peace, those feelings that I think are really important to shine. And I just want to remind people that I think that we're the pulse of the market community, and the market thrives with our strength. And so it really takes all of us to do this together. And I want to connect with you. So find me. I'm going to be here tonight. And this is my Instagram, Spicy Marshall, my hot sauce Instagram, my website. And if you want to listen to my podcast, or if anybody wants to be a guest on my podcast, we do them through Zoom now, so we can have anybody on the show. So thank you, everyone.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. If you're actively involved in a farmers market, please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros, or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. If you're looking for further education, check out our online course offerings at farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week, so tune in.